Okay, so I'm doing proprioception. And now, and now, and now, and now, and now. So I've done definitely enough reps for the elbow in terms of proprioception. I would still do, this time you're just going to tell me the movement. So do you feel if it's moving?
Yes.
And can you tell me in what direction?
Up,
And now,
down,
and now?
down.
I would stop there because the proprioception was intact. You don't have to do so much of the kinesthesia. If you remember in the mock OSCE, what was problematic is here when the person had no proprioception, then you had to do kinesthesia, and that was then clear that the person didn't have any sense of proprioception, but could still sense movement. Didn't know the direction of movement, but sensed that there was movement. So their kinesthesia wasn't totally intact. It was still impaired, but it was still partial. And they had no proprioception. So that allowed you to see that gradation, that it's possible to have no proprioception and to still have, then you still have to test kinesthesia. Usually it's not the other way around, but as I said, for the OSCE, because we want to make sure you know, I'm saying something for the OSCE that clinically normally you wouldn't have to do. So normally if they can tell the position, then you don't have to again do the kinesthesia because normally they would know that. Okay?
Like, do we, for the wrist, do we do only up and down?
Yes.
Or,
She said no.
No.
open
no.
radius.
And then for elbow, only.
Usually
and
it's
not
just flexion
supination.
extension. I mean, if they can't do this, then maybe I would do that also. But I normally, if they have this, they'll have
And the
this.
shoulder, we do.
Do all three planes.
And for the hip,
No.
Rotation too?
All three planes, including rotation.
and for the hip flexion, extension,
All three
abduction,
planes
adduction,
for the hip?
internal rotation, external rotation.
That's all three planes.
But the
Two
other one
for
is
the
just-
knee is just flexion extension, ankle just flexion extension, and toe is just flexion extension, and it's only the big toe. Same thing with just one big hand.
Oh, just the
The thumb.
Thumb.
And
for our
we
fingers.
do we do the,
The most distal I would do is the distal phalanx.
and then we do this,
Usually I would go from here to the wrist.
so we're not doing.
And well, if they don't have the wrist, then maybe I'll go back here, but I'm not gonna go, joint by joint, and then by the time I get up here, it'll be tomorrow. So I'll go here, then I'll go here, but if they didn't have this, then maybe I would do the MC.
Okay,
One
so
finger,
we don't
just
need the other
thumb.
fingers.
We
Typically
don't need the other
thumb.
fingers, just the thumb.
Yeah, just one. I mean, it could be here, just like the foot. You don't do all toes. You just do the big toe.
Flexion, extension, no abduction,
No
adduction.
And
abduction,
I remember
adduction.
there was like a slight difference with spinal cord and just the spinal cord injury and the regular one.
In
Is
terms
there-
of,
She said
What
maybe
was it
not.
again?
We were not doing.
Shoulder.
well, it's not part of the Asia, so don't worry about proprioception in a spinal cord patient because it's not part of the Asia.
We're only doing the things part of the Asia.
Well, if it's a spinal cord patient, that's the only test that's
What if your
relevant.
is not mine?
And on the Asia is only really pinprick and light touch. That's to get the levels.
And the
Myotomes, of course, yeah. Okay?
All right.
Can we wrap it up?